Yeah. Good weather?
Nice and cool.
That's good.
Okay, we're on Yud Beis, 12. Tomorrow we'll learn at 7, Daf Yomi, and 8, Daniel. So the Gemara said that Tzidkiyahu Melech and all of those other, his brothers or his uncles, whatever, those 4 Malachim were all anointed with Shemen HaMishcha. So the Gemara says it can't be Mihav Shemen HaMishcha. There was no Shemen HaMishcha at that time. Vatanya, Mishnignas Aron Abris, Nigna Shemen HaMishcha. Yoshua Melech, 20 to 30 years before, had known that there was going to be a galus, so he hid the Aron in the base of Mikdash, and they also buried the Shemen HaMishcha, V'tzintzena Saman, Oimer Avaman that they were told to put in its incense in the midbar. They also kept that. That was buried. Umaklo shel Aaron, Skedeo Prachat, Aaron's staff that had grown flowers in the Nisoyon between the Nisim and Aaron, so that was also kept. V'argos shesholchu plishtim dom Yisrael. When the Plishtim took the Aaron prisoner, and then it caused all sorts of havoc in Plishtim, they sent it back. They also sent a gift, Shenamar. And where do we see that all these things were buried? Vesklei hazav asher hashevosem lo asham tasimu ba'argaz mitzido ushlachtem osav halach. That they sent this argaz with the Aaron. Umi gonzo. Who buried it? Yoshua Melech Yehuda Gonzo. Shara shekosov b'Torah. In today's parsha, in the Toichacha, Yoelech Hashem oischa v'esmalkecha asher takim alacha el goy asher lo yadata. That your king is going to be taken into Golus. So tziva v'Gonzo. So Yoshua Melech commanded that the Aaron be buried. Shenemar, and we learn this. Vayomer Lalvim Hamavinim L'Chol Yisrael HaKadoshim L'Hashem. Yoshua told the Levim, Tnuas Aaron HaKodesh Babayis Asher Bona Shlomo Ben David Melech Yisrael. Take the Aaron, bury it in the Beis HaMikdash that Shlomo built. Ein lachem asaba katefata. You don't have to carry it anymore. Ivdu es Hashem lokechem es amo Yisrael. V'amra Belazar. Asya, it says Gzeir Shava Sham, because it says in the Aaron Shama. And it says by the Tzimtzem Saman, Tein Shama. Asya Mishmeres Mishmeres. It says by the Tzimtzem Saman Mishmeres. And by Maklo Shel Aaron, it also says Vayalach Ala Mishmeres. Asya Doiros. It says by the Tzimtzem Saman. And it says by the Shemen HaMishcha Doiros Sechem. So these are all things that we're all learned together, that just like the Aaron was buried, all these other things were buried. So we asked the question, how did they anoint those kings? Amrav Papa, be'aparsim adachya, with persimmon oil, not the Shemen HaMishcha. Ton Rabbana. Keitzad moishkin es hamalachim. How did they anoint the kings? Kimin nezer. They made like a crown around his head.
Sorry, where were you?
We're on Yud Beis. Maybe 10 lines down. Ton Rabbanon, Ketzad Moishkin.
Okay.
How did they anoint? Tomorrow the Daf Yomi is at 7 and the at 8. So how did they anoint the Kohanim? Kimin ki. My kimin ki. Amrav Menashe bar Gad kimin kaf yivani, an X. It's a Greek chi. So they made an X. Tani Chada, Betchila Moitski and Shemen al Roishoy. First, they did Yitzika on his head. Then they put some of the Shemen between his eyelashes. But V'tanya Krisi, it says, B'tchila noisin lo shemen ben risi einov. First they put it on his eyelash, then they poured it on his head. So the Gemara says Tanoi. It's machlokes Tanoi. Ikdi Amri, Meshicha, that anointing between the eyes is adifa, is a higher level than pouring it on your head. The Ikdi Amri Yitzika adifa, pouring it on your head, is higher than putting it on your eyelash. My time at Manda Amri Yitzika adifa. What's the reason why the people who say that pouring it on your head is better? D'chsiv vayitzok mishem mishcha arosh Aaron vayimshach oso lekatro. So the yitzika is mentioned before Mashiach. Umandar Mashiach difa, the one who learns that Mashiach is better. My time, ksavar shekain atamoitze eitzel kleishores, that they were nimshach and they didn't pour. They did pour. My tam vayitzok mishum vayimshach. It means even by the kalim, the yitzika, the pouring was after the Mashiach. Torah Rabbana. Pasuk in Tehillim. Kishemen atov ala rosh, yared ala zakan, pours on the beard of zakan Aaron, sheyared al pimidoiso. Tvin shnei tipe margolios ayutolios la Aaron bezikono. There were 2 drops, like a pearl, of the shemen that had been stuck in the beard of Aaron. Amrav Papa, Tana, Kishu Mesape, when he spoke, these drops, oilois for Yoshvis lo be'ikos zakona, they would like go up and down and they would sit in the root of his beard. Valdavar zayeh Moshe doye. Moshe was worried. Omar shamachasu shalom mu'ati b'shem mishcha. Moshe thought maybe I poured too much, more than was needed, and I'm achayv me'ilah. This pasuk, comparing the shemen to the tal of the dew of the chermo. Matal charmon ein bo me'ilah. The dew of the chermon, it's not kadosh, so there's no me'ilah. Shana mishcha shebizkan Aaron ein bo me'ilah. Ve'adayin Aaron doye. Aaron was still worried. Omar shemen Moshe l'moal, but avalni malti. Maybe I'm this extra shemen that I'm using, I'm benefiting from it. Yad sabaskel v'amar lo. Right after that pasuk of kishemen atov ala rosh, yored al skan Aaron, it says hinei matovu manoim sheves achim gam yachad. Ma Moshe lo moal, af ata lo moalta. Just like Moshe didn't do meal, you're not chayv meal either. Ton rabbanon. They would take the kings to anoint them down to the spring, so that their king sovereignty will keep on flowing like a spring. By when they coronated Shlomo, David HaMelech said to Nosla Novi, "Chui machemes avdi adonechem, v'irkavtem Shlomo b'ni ala freida." Take Shlomo Melech on the mule. Asher li v'oratem also el Gichon, take him to the river Gichon. Umashach also sham tzadek hakohen v'nos nanovi lemelech Yisrael uskatem b'shoifer v'martem yichi hamelech Shlomo. Ravami, Haiman de boy leido imosik shtia olo. Is he going to have a good year or not? Is he going to live or die? Nitle shraga, ba'aser simei shebein Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. He should light candle between Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. The vesa de loinosh of zika, in a house that there's no wind. Imashach nora needed the mosik shasi. If the light keeps on, it lights all the time, then that's a simin that he's gonna live the year. Uman de boy lemevid beisk. Somebody is going to make a big investment, wants to know if he is going to be successful. Boy lemedei matzlich o lo mitzlach. Lir b'tanagola. So he should raise chickens. Ishamin ushpar mitzlach. If it gets fat, that's a siman that your business deal will be good too. Hayman de boy lemefik leorcha. Somebody's going to travel on a boat. Uboy lemeida ichazer v'asi lebeisa is going to come home safe. So nekam the base of the chavra. You should go into a dark house. Ichazi beboa, the boa. If he sees the shadow of a shadow, later the hadar v'asi lebeisa, he'll know that he's going to come home safely. However, the Gemara says v'lav milsi. All these things is not correct. Why? Dilmachal shadaite. Maybe you'll do these experiments, it'll come out bad, and you'll be depressed. Umisra mazle, and just by being depressed, your muzzle will go down, and that itself will create a problem. Omra bay hasha da amrit simna milsihi, but it sounds like a simon works. So la'olam yayodim ragil mechzeh b'reishasa. So this is the source in the Gemara in our Suda for Rosh Hashanah to make like a plate. You first eat kara, which is pumpkin, veruvia, which is carrot, karsi leeks, silka beets, batamri dates, in that order. All of these, why is it simon? Because they all grow and they grow rapidly. It's a simon tov that the year will be a good year. When you want to go to your Rebbe to learn Torah, Garsu Masnisa v'Olu l'Kami Ravaychu. First, learn all the Mishnayos before you go in. When you sit in front of him, watch his mouth or his face. Your eye should see the face of your Rebbe. When you learn, you should learn on a river bank. Just like the water is drying out and is mamshich, your learning won't break, will continue. V'tivu akilkilu, better to sit in the garbage dumps of Masamachsia v'lotivu apadne b'pumbedisa, and don't sit in the palaces of Pumbedisa. Tav galden asarya, a rotten fish of Matamachsia lemechel is better to eat mikuscha de Rami Kipi, from mayonnaise from Rami Kipi. It's very spicy. Okay. It says by Chanos davening, Rama Karni Belohai. Raise the Karen. Rama Karni v'lo Rama Pachi. It's not a jug, it's a horn. So David Shlomo shenimshchu bekeren. The oil was put into a horn and then put on their head. And that's a good simon, the nimshcha malchusan, and therefore they had long reigns. Shaul v'yehu shenimshchu bepach lo nimshchu malchusan. They had very short reigns. Hamishruch b'shemen hamishcha, as opposed if you were a Kohen Gadol was anointed, so he brought the parhelim davar shel tzibur. But in Bayis Sheni, where they didn't have the shemen hamishcha, and he was only the Kohen Gadol because he wore the 8 begadim, the Mishnah said he did not bring the part. Ton Rabbanon, Mashiach. So first of all, Yachol HaMelech, maybe it refers to the king. Talmud Lomer Kohen. Kohen Yachol Meruba Kohen. Maybe even the Kohen Gadol with 8 begadim. Talmud Lomer Mashiach. No, he has to be anointed. Mashiach Yachol Mashuach Melchama. They would also anoint the Kohen who would instruct the army before they went out to war. The was also a Kohen Mashuach Melchama. So I might think he's also included in the Parel and Davar Shel Tzibur. Talmud Lomer v'haKohen HaMashiach. She'enu Mashiach HaGabav. He's the highest Kohen. And my mashma, Kedom Rava, Hayorich, by the Gida Nosha, is Hamyumenes Shabbayorich, the important, the right one. Achanami HaMashiach HaMiyumen Shabbat, the most chashuv Kohen, which is the Kohen Gadol. Amramar, Mashiach Yachol Melech. Havamina was, maybe Mashiach means a king. So the Gemara says, how could you have Havamina? Melech Paru Demaisi. We know the Melech brings a sa'ir if he makes an Aveira, not a par. So we can't be talking about the Melech. So Itzrich, we still needed to have the pasuk. Sakat chamina, ashik gets ma'isa yavisor. Yeah, if he just eats chaylev unknowingly, he brings a sor. But maybe al helam dover, if he was shoygeg based on a psak of bezdin, maybe yavi pork. Kamash that no, only the kohen gadol does. The Mishnah went ahead and gave us other differences between the kohen gadol who was meshruach b'shem and mishcha versus the kohen who was a kohen gadol because he wore the eight begadim. Ein bein meshruach b'shem and mishcha. The par elam dover shel tzibur. The meruba begadim didn't bring this, and the Gemara now tells us masnisin delok Rav Meir. Obviously, our Mishnah is not like Rav Meir. Di Rav Meir hatanya meruba begadim maybe parabol kol mitzvah. According to Rav Meir, elu div Rav Meir. A kohen gadol and bayis sheni brought the par helam dover. But the Chachamim didn't agree with Rav Meir. My time at Rav Meir, the Tanya, Mashiach. How do I know Meruba B'Godim Menayin also? Talmud Loimar, HaKohen HaMashiach. So it's a ribui, anybody was the Kohen Gadol, even if it was not Nimshach. So, B'mai Ukimta Rabbanon. So you set up our Mishnah like the Rabbanon, not like Rav Meir. Aim a Seifa. But look at the Seifa of our very own Mishnah. Ein ben kohen mishamesh lekohen she'avar. We talked about the kohen gadol, who is the active kohen gadol, and the kohen gadol who had to step down because he had a moon, and the moon got healed. The guy who was appointed now steps down. He steps back into his job. So what's the difference? Elapar Yom Kippurim Basir Se'efa. The Kohen Gadol, who is currently not, who's not practicing as the active Kohen Gadol, he does not bring the Parv Yom Kippur and the daily Asir Se'efa. But in everything else, he's the same. So that's Rav Meir, including the Parlam Dover Shel Tzibur, Asal Rav Meir. The Tanya, Iru Bo Psul B'Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol was a Kohen Gadol, he had a moon, V'Ovar. And he had to step down. Then they appointed another Kohen. Now, when whatever is the problem goes away, Harishon Choyzer Lavodaso, he goes back into his job. Vahasheni, the one who was a temporary Kohen Gadol, he's now steps down. So Kol Mitzvahs Kahuna Allah, the Rameir. All the Isurim and all the mitzvahs are upon him, even bringing the Parlam Dover Shul Tzibur. Rabbi Yosef Marishon Choyz Lavodas, so V'sheni Ein Roy Lolo Kohen Gadol, Lolo Kohen Hedyot. This poor Kohen who was temporarily the Kohen Gadol, he's stuck. He cannot serve as a Kohen Gadol, he can't serve as a Kohen Hedyot. On Rav Yossi, Maisa be Yosef ben Elim, Mitzi Poiri, She'iru B'Psul B'Kohen Gadol. He was the Kohen Gadol, he had a Psul V'Ovar Uminu Acher, and this Yosef was appointed Tachtov, and then the original Kohen Gadol came back. They didn't let him serve either the Kohen Gadol or Kohen Hedyot. Why? Kohen Gadol, he couldn't do it Mishum Eva. Because the first guy would be jealous of him. And there'll be hatred. Kohen Hedyot not. Mishum Malin B'Kodesh V'Meridin. Once you're elevated, you can't go down. So he's in limbo. But whatever you want to say, we've established that the Reis Rabbanon, right, where the active Kohen Gadol brings the part, the Sefer Rav Meir. So we have a split Mishnah. On Rav Chizda in Reisha Rabbanon, the Sefer Rav Meir. Okay, but as you know, many times the Gemara doesn't like to leave it that way. They like to resolve it according to Das Yachid. Rav Yosef, one of the later Amiroim, comes in and says, Omar, no, Kula Rebbehi, V'nosiv Lali B'tanoi. He accepts the Chachamim in one, and he accepts Rav Meir in the other. Rava Omar, it's all Rav Shimon. He suffered like Rav Meir b'chada, u'poligale b'chada. He holds like Rav Meir in one arena and argues with them in the other. Titania. Dvorim shrinkin godel ben lekoin hedyot eluhim. Here, this is a fundamental brisa that teaches us the differences between a Kohen Gadol and a regular Kohen. So the Kohen Gadol brings the Parabar Kol HaMitzvah, that if he makes a psak, it's improper, and he acts on the psak, he brings the par. He also offers the par Yom HaKippurim on behalf of the Kohanim. And Asir Sa'efa. Every day the Kohen Gadol would bring an Asir Sa'efa as a mincha. Lo Poreya, he doesn't grow, he doesn't have to shave his head. V'lo Poirem. And he doesn't tear his clothing in Avelis. Avalu Per Milmata. He does a little bit, he tears below. Vahedyot Mimala. The regular Kohen tears above. Ve'emetam L'kroivim. Kohen Gadol cannot go to a funeral. Umuzur al psula. He can only live with a psula. V'asur b'almona. He may not live with an almona. Umachzer sarutzeach. On his death, any murderer in the Ir Miklat can come back. Umakriv oine. Even on the day of his avelis, he could be makriv a korban. Eino oichel, but he cannot eat. Ve'ena choylek. He doesn't share in the kotshim that were offered that day. He's not choylek in those kotshim. Makriv chelik barosh. The Kohen Gadol any day could choose whatever piece of meat he wanted first. V'noitel chelik barosh. He takes first. Umeshamish b'shmona kelim. He does the avodah with 8 begodim. V'chol avodas Yom HaKippur meinik sher labo. The avodas of Yom HaKippur has to be done by the Kohen Gadol. And Potter Otumas Migdash Shukdashav. He does not bring a korban asham talui if he b'shogeg walks into the base Midrash Ptomei. Kula noagin b'mrubim begodim. All of these things apply even to a Kohen Gadol who didn't get Shemen HaMishcha. He's only a Kohen Gadol by virtue of wearing 8 begodim. Chutz mipar mevia kol mitzvahs. He doesn't bring the par lam dover. The kula noagin b'shiach she'ovar. The Kohen Gadol that was temporarily the Kohen Gadol then removed. He does everything chutz mipar Yom HaKippur v'asir seifa. He does not offer the par Yom Kippur or the asir seifa. Kula ne noagin b'meshech mulchama. The Kohen that is anointed to inspire the tzava, he doesn't do any of these. Chutz mechameshes dvarim amurim b'parsha. There are 5 things that is lo pareh v'lo poirem. He doesn't have, he can grow his hair long, doesn't tear kriya ve'ein metamel kroivim. He doesn't go to funerals. Muzar al psula v'asur b'almona. Umachzer sarutzeach div Rabbi Yehuda. Those 5 things, even the Meshuach Mulchama activates. Chachamim oimrim eino machzir. The Chachamim argue with the last one that the Kohen Meshuach Mulchama does not machzir the rotzeach at his death. Hi mai, Reb Shimon. How do you know this price is Reb Shimon? Amrav Papa Man Sham Islay. Who is the author? The Omar Patra Tumas Migdash Shukdashav. That was Reb Shimon. So we know that price is Reb Shimon. So we said that Kohen Meshuach Mulchama doesn't do any of the various obligations. Chutz mechamisha dvar mamun b'parsha. But not immediately, how do you know this? The Torah Rabban v'Kohen Hagadol me'achav zeh Kohen Gadol asher yutzak al rosho shemen hamishcha zeh Meshuach Mulchama umiles yadol l'boshet sabkadim zeh merubah b'gadim al kulon. Now, on all these 3 categories, whatever is written next applies. Rosho lo yifra, he doesn't have to shave his head. Uvgadav lo yifram, he doesn't have to tear kriya. Vakol nafshos meis lo yavo, they don't go to funerals. Yachol yu kulam akrivin onenin, maybe all 3 of them, when they're in onein, right, the day of the death of a relative, they could be makriv tamud lomar, ki nezer shemen mishchas alav alav. Only the one that was anointed Kohen Gadol, alav. V'lo al chavero. Only on the real Kohen Gadol does that halacha apply about being makriv oine. V'achar shechal koha kasuv. So now that the Torah went back and separated Yachol lo yeim mitzuv al psula, maybe then the Kohen Meshuach Mulchama would not have a chiyuv to marry psula. Talmud loymar V'hu asher bivsulei yikach. And that's going back, v'hu refers to the Mishloach Milchama. So the Gemara says kitanoi. Machlok is tanoi. V'hu isha bivsulei yikach. Acha shechalak hakosu. After the pasuk made a difference between the Kohen Mishloach Milchama, the Kohen Gadol, that he doesn't makriv oinein, riba. The Mishloach Milchama was included in those. Did Rabbi Shmuel. B'kiva oimer, ein li'ala she'over machmas kirya. Let's say Kohen Gadol became a Balkari. So it's only a short period of time that he can't work. And then he comes back. But maybe machmas mumin. Because maybe by a mum, he can never be kosher. Minayin, he's still mitzuva ala psula. Tamad lo mevahu. Even by a mum. But Mishloach Milchama, there's no ribu. It's how they learn the psukim that they make that machlokas between the Kohen Gadol and the Mishloach Milchama. Bo minei Rav and Rav Nachman. Kohen Mashiach shnitztara ma'u b'mana. You have a Kohen Mashiach who became a Mitzorah. Do we say kimid chadachi? He's temporarily pushed away, but he's still the Kohen Gadol, or Mifter Potter, or he's not a Kohen Gadol anymore, and he can marry an almana. Lava biyad, they didn't know. Zimin Avi Yosef b'Rav Papa become a boile. He was in front of Rav Papa. He asked him the question. Amarle huna breid Rav Nachman Rav Papa Tanina. He jumped in. He said to the Brisa, "Ein li ela shaver machmas kirya." All of these dinim that still apply to Kohen Gadol, it's only if it's a short-acting mum, like being a balkari. However, you might think over machmas mum maybe not be nine. Tamad lo for who? So a mitzvah is also a mum. So he remains asr b'mana, and since he heard that from Rav Papa, kam nashke bereshe. He kissed him on his head. V'yoyv le bartin, gave him his daughter to marry, because he saw he was a big gadol b'Torah. Mishnah. Kohen Gadol poirem milmata. He tears his begodim on the bottom. V'ahed yoyt milmalo. Like we get our kriyas done at the top of our garment. The Kohen Gadol tore it at the bottom. Then Kohen Gadol makriv oinen. The day of the death of his relative, he's still allowed to be makriv a korban, but v'loy oicha doesn't eat. V'ahed yoyt like makriv v'loy oicha. A regular Kohen Yoyt is not allowed to be makriv, and it certainly doesn't eat. Amrav lamata, that which it says lamata is lamata mamish, at the bottom of the garment. Lamala mamish. Ushmul amar lamata, that means lamata mekame safa. It's not at the bottom of the garment, it's just below the seam on the top. It's not on the mamish top, a little bit below it. And lamala is lamala mekame safa, or above the seam. V'zeh v'zeh b'tzavat, and they both tear near the neck. Meisvei. We ask a kasha on Shmuel. Kol ha-mesin kulan bratza mavdil kamesafa shalo. He can divide into two above the seam. Bratza enemav kamesafa shalo. Now al avi valimo mavdil. On a parent, then of course you were mavdil. Kivin de ba'omahadi kara. So it's still called kriya even if you did mavdil. Kari kan Gadol lo yifrom. It still fits by the Kohen Gadol. There's halacha that he shouldn't tear. And this seems to be a proof to Rav that the Kohen Gadol tears on the bottom. So Shmuel Kedas Rav Yehuda's sphere, like the Omar, called Keresh in a Mavdil Safa Shalo, if the tear doesn't sort of divide the seam, Eino la Karshal. It's not a real, it's like shtus. It's not a real tearing. So Umisli Rav Yehuda Kriya by Kohen Gadol. Did Rav Yehuda even hold that there's any kind of Kriya by Kohen Gadol? V'atanya ilu nema rosh lo yifra uveged lo yifra ma'isi omer berosh ubeged shel sota kosum medaber. That we're talking about when a woman who's a sota comes, and the Kohen Gadol takes off her shaitel and tears her begodim. Talmud Lamed Rosho lo yifrav gadav lo yifrom she'ena b'friya frima kolikar. Did Rabbi Yehuda? It holds that there's no tearing and there's no doing anything to your hair at all to the Kohen Gadol, Kohen Rabbi Shmuel Omer, ain't a form Kedesh B'nei Adam for me. He tears Kri, doesn't do it like regular people. Elahu Mumata, Vedi Mumata. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no prima at all. How could you say Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yehuda? So Shmuel server like Rabbi Yehuda B'chada. He holds in like one version of Rabbi Yehuda, Polig like B'chada. That he does hold that it needs Kriya. Now, Mishnah, Kol HaTodim Mechavero, Kodim Es Chavero. Any mitzvah, which we do on a more frequent basis, and you have two mitzvahs you have to do the same time, you do the one that is taught here. Standard rule. Whoever's more holy, so a Kohen goes before a Levi. Levi goes before Yisrael. Par Mashiach upara Eda. So you have two korbanos. The Parhelim Dover of the Kohen Gadol and the Parhelim Dover of the tzibur itself. Who do you do first? Par Mashiach Kodim LePar Eda B'chol Ma'aseh. He's the Kohen Gadol. He's more Mekudesh. Menanamili. How do we know the Todir Din Amra Bayid Amra Kra Milvad Olas HaBoker Asher LeOlas HaTamid Mich Tiksiv Olas HaBoker. So Olas HaTamid Lamali. So we know we're talking about the Olas HaTamid of the Boker. Hachikam Rachmana. Kol Shetadira Kadma. The Olas HaTamid is Tadir. We do it every day. So it goes first before any other korbanos that you only bring, periodically. The Tana of Rabbi Shmuel says, "V'kidashto kiyas lechem lokavu makriv v'haya kodesh." The chodavar shebedusha. So the kohen goes first. Liftoch rishon. You call him up first. La'aliyah luvarech rishon. He gets to bench. B'lital manu yafra rishon, get the first nice piece of meat. So we see from that pasuk he's mekudesh. Okay. Tomorrow we'll finish. We'll be a blot ahead, but we'll try to finish tomorrow.
So are you doing 7 tomorrow?
Say it again?
You doing 7 tomorrow?
Does that work? What time is mincha?
Mincha must be, it was 6:55 last week, so it must be maybe 10 minutes before, 5 minutes before. 6:50 or
A little later, we could do it 7:15 if you maybe better. That way you'll be home by then, right, Johnny?
7:15. Yeah, if not, I'll do Mario someplace else. But okay, 7:15 is a little better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll finish.
Mario, put it in. We'll do 7:15.
Okay.
7:15. Okay, fine.
Okay.
What
Okay.
time, Walters? What time is our mincha tomorrow?
I don't think there'll be a mincha tomorrow because there's a lot of people who are out. So
Okay. Okay, no problem.